Ready, Darren?
Yep.
In 3, 2, and 1.
Hey folks, welcome back to your Frederick Real Estate Update. I am Darren Ahern with RE/MAX Results, and I also have with me the man with all the money over in the vault at Presidential Bank Mortgage, Mr.
Terry Kernan.
Hey buddy, how are you?
Great, how are you?
Alrighty, it's another weekend already.
Well, what's amazing is it's the end of April. I mean, I can't believe where it's gone. This first quarter.
4 months out of 12 gone.
So the first third of the year is done.
Yeah, what I'm more surprised about is how cold it's been at nighttime. We're not in May, and of course they always say don't plant all your flowers until Memorial Weekend to be sure, or second week of April, or Mother's Day or something, I don't know. But yeah, we're going to hit summertime real fast, I think, here in a little bit. So, all right, we got a lot going on. Oh, real quick, Terry. Oh, yeah. Thanks for calling in and giving us good updates and all the news and everything. And as you heard, we had our $250 gift certificate, gift card winner that he chose for Lowe's. Nathan Keller, he's out near Toledo, Ohio. And I asked him, I called him and I said, hey, how in the world did you know, I mean, I know we have people listening all over. But I said, and he said, oh, I've got family near, West Virginia. I've picked up you before. I've listened a little bit. But you guys come on in a great time whenever I'm doing something at the house or driving, taking stuff to the dump or whatever. He said, I love it. Every Saturday I try to catch you guys and put you on. And here I am in Toledo, Ohio. And he's said amazing information. He said there's nothing out there in their local radio that has this. And he said it's relevant. He said, I really enjoy the content because it definitely is helping me. And it's definitely relative even for our area because I like to pay attention, he said, to our real estate and to see what's the differences and all that. So it's been good.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I think what we talk about is happening all over.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers that we talk about here, they're local to Frederick and, the Hagerstown and in Montgomery County. But what we actually talk about, and that's what I enjoy about it is, and people always say, what you guys talk about is really happening all over the country, so it makes sense for anybody to listen.
Yeah, local stuff obviously is our
listening.
So that's great. We're gonna make sure you get that. We'll keep in touch and all that stuff. And I told him too. I said, hey, look, I can. He said, do you like how do you know agents where I live? If I was a seller, I said I can definitely interview and find some really good qualified agents. And so that's what I want to let all of our listeners. If you have family, friends, anybody all over the country, and even loans, Terry, you can talk about this. It's where you guys, for Presidential, if you're chartered, I think there's some people out there that listen. They may think, well, since you're in Maryland, you can only do loans in Maryland. But you can do loans in Pennsylvania. You can do loans in other states and all.
States.
There you go. So all 50 states.
California loan and New York loan. Those are the two toughest states to do a settlement in.
We're not surprised.
We've done them in Hawaii. I don't think I've done an Alaska loan, maybe years ago, but
yeah, but you can do all 50 states.
All 50 states.
So that's the whole thing, guys. All of you are listening. If you're looking to refinance or you're looking with a buyer purchase and such again, a family member yourself, Terry can do it. I can help you find a good agent that's going to be extremely qualified anywhere in the whole country. Based on some of my relationships from all my conferences, but also basically I know what research, what questions to ask to make sure you're in good hands, give you 2 or 3 agents. It's whoever you feel the most comfortable with, and you're doing good. And I have that right now happening with 2 agents across the country that I'm working close with, and I just settled up with one from right outside of Richmond, Virginia, that helped one of our clients build a brand new house and go through the process, and they were delighted. So I probably have 5 or 10 transactions a year that I can refer people to that are in existing other states and areas that we can help out in. So that's really important, guys. We're always here to help wherever it is. But that's Nathan out in Toledo area. Thanks for tuning in. And you're going to get your Lowe's gift card coming out. I would hand deliver it, but the gas prices are killing me. It'll cost more money to bring it in person in gas prices than to, I'm surprised it's not $10 to deliver it anymore with the price of everything going up. But we appreciate listening, all of our listeners out there as well, and local guys. So, all right, Terry, here's some of the numbers. 287 active homes on the market. We just still can't get above 300. 163 resales, 9 average days on the market at a $490,000 median average price. New construction, 124. Coming soon, 72. We are still struggling to get above 100 consistently with that number, and that's the one we need, okay? Pending under contract, 874 total. 472 resales, which shows how strong the new builds are. There's almost 375 or so new build. And in the last 30 days, 406 sales, which is down a little bit simply because there's just not enough inventory for the buyer demand to keep up to raise that number of solds. So it's slim pickings still, and I got a story to share about that also coming up later on in the program. So what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are, got a contract yesterday that basically had no other offers. They went in and they went in 5,000 under, got it.
Wait a minute, whoa. Did you just say
it was in Pennsylvania?
Okay.
And the house was overpriced, they felt.
Oh, okay.
And it was on the market for 18 days, and it was overpriced.
There you go, 18 days.
So 18 days was the big number, and then so that's kind of the first one that I've seen. And then what I'm also seeing is that there aren't as many offers coming in, and I think you're probably seeing the same thing.
Oh yeah.
Things are starting to drop. The one thing that I'm seeing though is people that have been fighting, that I've been working with for 4 months, 3 months, and now they're back in the hunt, and they're looking at the rates going, wait a minute. You said 5 1/4 or 5 1/8? And I'm like, yeah, 5 1/4. And they're like, 3 months ago they were 3%. I said, that was 3 months ago. So it is a big sticker shock, and it is a big thing that we have to address, and we're addressing it on a daily basis. The one thing that I talk about is every election year, every presidential election year, rates come back down. So we're going to basically see rates coming back down, is my guess. I've never seen them go up this fast. But what are we doing to make them come down? What are we doing to stop this? Inflation is what's causing these rates to go up. So what do you do when inflation, and I say it on the show numerous times, what do we do? What do we believe curtails inflation the fastest? That is raising rates. So things cost more, so people are not as willing to pay for it. So what do you have? What's one of the big measures of the economy? So what you want to do is you want to slow this economy down. We are just pumping it out. So what came out on Thursday was GDP, gross domestic product. What is GDP? I've gone over it on the show before, but a little refresher. It's a statistical guesstimate of the value of all the goods and services produced in the country over a 3-month period. That number shrank by 1.4%. That's a huge turn of events when it comes to the GDP. That's the first sign that the economy is starting to slow down, which is the first sign that we might see inflation to stop rising as fast as it is. Okay, what else happened? On Tuesday, the GDP came out, but new home sales basically came out and fell 8.6% from last month. That's a big number.
That's huge.
So we're starting to see the beginning, I think, of taking care of the inflation problem. Does it mean that rates are going to go down? It does not mean that. I believe that rates are still going to continue to climb. We could get as high as 6% by the end of the year, but it's going to present a platform in 2023 where the economy will have slowed enough, inflation will be under control, and then it'll get ready to start coming back down for the presidential election year. So if anybody is worried about rates, I've had so many phone calls in the last 3 weeks about rates that we will be taking a look at locking you in. We talked about last week, we're not going to buy the rate down. Okay, that's crazy to do. You don't get the money back. But as the rates are at this level, I believe that they're going to be 4% or below by the presidential election year. That's my prediction. So giving people the ability to refinance is what we're going to see, and that's where they'll save a lot of money.
Good. Yeah, we're still seeing a lot of buyer demand for the most part. It's we'll share about that. The numbers, I'm not real overly surprised, where things are at right now. It's just going to take some time, I think, to really see how things play out more and more, to get this inventory. I had an agent actually this morning ask me, they said, hey, Darren, what number with resale homes do you think we really need to get to before, you start to see a lot of homes not have these bidding wars, and I said probably at least 500 to 600
That would be
resale.
my guess, 500.
Yeah,
So
and
let me ask
that's not happening now.
Let me ask your thought. You and I, we always focus on this coming soon number.
Yeah.
And it's 72 right now. In my opinion, I thought when rates were going up, more sellers would be jumping into the market, saying, I better sell now because we're at the top of the market.
Right, yeah.
It doesn't look like we're seeing that. So what do you think? What are you thinking? Are you thinking the same as me, that number should be
Nowhere
much
to
higher?
go. I call it the nowhere to go syndrome.
Okay,
That's
perfect.
it. It's all about nowhere to go. Last week I listed a home that was an investment in Germantown. By the way, 4 days we've had it on the market. We've had 36 showings. Yeah, 36 in 4 days, and I've got 2 or 3 offers coming, and I predicted 5 to 10 offers.
Wow.
Yeah. So
And that's
that
the
one,
single family in Germantown.
Germantown,
Under 500.
under 500.
Yeah, that's a sweet
Very
spot
good
that you can't
condition.
find.
In investment property. I got one today I'm listing for sale out in Brownsville or Knoxville, out in just inside Washington County. Beautiful farmhouse, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 4.5 acres. It was a rental. It was a rental, Your Honor. Investment, another investment. I've been paying attention to all the listings and everything I'm doing. Very few are selling because we need to get a place right now also. That transitional thing. It's always a job change. We're moving to the beach. We're going to Florida. We're going to California. We're going to Hawaii. We're, breaking up. We're doing this. We're doing that. We want the kids out. I got one family. They just want to sell to get all the kids out. It's like, yeah, they just want to sell to get all the kids out of the basement. It's like trying to get rid of a mouse problem in your house or something. I don't know. It's funny though, but no, they're downsizing. So that's the other thing. People that have second homes that are like, okay, now's the time to do it. Estate sales, ooh, bunch of those. Deaths in family, yep. The kids inherited it. They that nobody wants to live in it. Nobody needs it. Let's sell it. That's really what's been about 85% of my sales in the last year or more.
Okay. So people are afraid to put their house on the market because they have nowhere to go.
That's it. Fear to go, fear to stay. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do?
Well,
I've had a couple though. I've had a couple that have sold to rent, to kind of play it out because they don't know what they want to do next. They're kind of like, well, it's a great time to sell. It's not a great time to rent, but you know what? It'll be okay. The amount of money we're making selling will pay for my rent for a year or two, maybe, or more, and which I wouldn't have gotten if the market changes. And so I've got some of that happening as well. But that's very rare though. Most people aren't typically gonna do that. They're usually looking at, do I want to retire early? I have a potential job change, or I don't know if I want to live where the grandkids are going to be coming up maybe this soon, and maybe I might. There's a lot of those things like that. So here's the thing I'm dealing with too, Terry, on the Life on the Streets. One of the questions that came in, Terry, I didn't finish up with from last week that was really important, since somebody had asked, since this is one of the best sellers market we've ever seen, can you tell me why a seller would not even get an offer? That's a great question. It's always price and condition.
Always price.
It's always price. Just like you had said, these people in Pennsylvania, buyers looking at it, on the market 18 days, they were able to offer a little bit under. So here's the Monday morning strategy for this seller, right? I mean, I don't know anything about it. What would have happened if they priced the house 10, 20, 30,000 below and got multiple offers and it didn't take 18 days and got bidded up? I don't know. A lot of variables in place, if that would have been a smart move strategically or not. So, but of course, we find that's the biggest indicator is buyer feedback about values. They're going to tell us by no offers, and then I'm going to, obviously, I always ask the other agents in that regard. So, but at the end of the day, it's always about value proposition, no matter what kind of market we're in. So that's my guess on that. So I hope that answers that one there. This can be a little tricky though, because there is such sometimes a lack of data out there. I got a good one, Terry. This last week I had a seller from Thurmont call me, and he has a very unusual home in Thurmont. It's 8 bedrooms, over 5,000 square feet on 5 acres.
Wow.
So of course he said, Darren, I've met with a couple agents. I'm calling you as well. I know that you live in the area. I've seen your name everywhere and this and that. And I was appreciative, and he said, what do you think? And I said, I can tell you, as soon as I knew where it was As soon as he gave me the details, I said, I can tell you right now, there's probably a pretty good lack of data. Let me look it up. There was none. So I did, without seeing it, I did an initial cost approach. And then, of course, I turned him over to Wayne Six and then guys over with Kenny McLean and some others, a couple other appraisers. And I said, hey, have it professionally appraised. Let's sleep good at night. So he took my advice. He said, that's a great idea. How much is it going to cost? I said, probably $800, maybe $1,000. I don't know. But I would definitely do it. It's definitely well worth it because there is almost no data out there. So and then let the market speak. So that's kind of how I took the approach on that one right there.
Yeah. What did he buy it for, and how long?
Oh, they've had a long time. Oh, a long time, and way back in the 200,000, 300,000 range kind of thing. So yeah.
Okay.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So the other question came in, Terry, is since there's nearly 35% of all homes are having appraisal issues now, how do you as agents deal with this reality? And the number one thing is all education. When I sit down with sellers, I educate and I prep them very upfront about the possibility. I can pretty much show them if you were underpriced, here's where your gap, here's where your range is. You're going to get tons of bidding war. Here's the range where it should fall in an appraisal okay, and here's a range outside of it where you're no man's land and there's no data to support it, and even a cost approach and other methods don't even support it, including Zillow and everybody else out there. So I look for any additional data that may be for an appeal, and we talked a little bit about that. And then basically at that point, it is what it is, and then we deal with how the buyers want to respond to that. My biggest thing, Terry, I look at is when offers come in from an offer standpoint, I tell our sellers the best overall offer is the buyer that has the most cash. And what I mean by that is how much money are they putting down? Is it 5%, 10%, 20%? You always want to go with who's going to typically have the highest. So if you have two offers and they're within like $5,000 or $10,000, but the buyer that's $5,000 or $10,000 less is putting 20% down instead of the person doing 3% or 5% conventional, that's a big difference. Then I look at the other big difference of how much reserves, who's going to bring in the under appraisal amount the most in that regard that would potentially bridge that gap. And so it doesn't always mean price rules the roost, and that's the highest thing to go with. You do have to pay attention to who's putting down the most money and what kind of cash reserves they're dedicating to bringing if there is an appraisal issue. Thoughts on that?
Thoughts on that is you're exactly right. You gotta look into, but it's very hard to find out how much reserves. You got to talk to the loan officer that wrote the letter, and you got to make sure that it's not an out-of-state lender that is a internet lender that, you really got to be conscientious of who writes that letter.
Yep.
Very, very important. Let me give you an example. Somebody comes in with a contract with 5% down, but they do a gap appraisal of $40,000. Well, at 5% down, you're going to get a call when it under appraises saying, well, we got to renegotiate, or we don't have a deal and you're going to have to put the house back on the market. And that's going to be very, very ugly. So you got to be very, very careful. If somebody says, I'm putting 30% down and the gap appraisal is $40,000, then if that's all they have is that 30% down, that's okay, because their loan to value will be less, because we look at the appraised value.
Yep.
Or the sales price, whichever is the lower of the two. So if something appraises at $500 but the sales price is $550, we are going to base our loan to value off of the $500. So if somebody's putting down 30% on a $550, that's $150,000.
Pretty strong.
So their LTV is going to be okay. But if somebody comes in with a appraisal gap, and they're only putting 3 or 5% down, there's a very good chance that they're just saying that knowing that they're going to renegotiate once the appraisal comes in well.
Yep. So those are the things I look at to really protect our sellers and all that kind of stuff like that.
Very strong point to think of when you're looking at contracts.
Huge. And when you're selecting agents, to know the difference and how to negotiate and handle through that, guys. Also, the question came in, what happens if the buyers commit to bringing the difference in cash to settle the gap, and then something happens in between and they can't perform according to the agreement? Yeah, well, a few things. Number one, they could go to their 401 money and grab and borrow from there, right? Family, friend members, do a gift of funds. You could go rob a bank. I don't know. You got to perform somehow. You got to get that money. An agent can give the buyer some, we can give actually a buyer credit in that regard to help some of it, but that usually ain't going to do much in this market sometimes. Somehow maybe renegotiate terms with the sellers, and because it may be tough, that late in the game, but you never know. If they cannot get the funds, the buyers will probably, and I'm not an attorney, but seek legal counsel. You're probably going to lose your deposit and forfeit the home and maybe have legal action, and that's why I say consult an attorney. So you dealt with this, didn't you, Terry? You had somebody this happened with.
Yes. I had a buyer, and they were selling a house, and the house that they were selling was their primary residence, and their listing agent got a phone call 3 days before closing or 4 days before closing and said, hey, we got to push settlement back a month because the people buying their house fell through, so they don't have the money to buy. And my listing agent lost his mind and basically said, you submitted a non-contingent contract. So they didn't have a house to sell. And they said, well, yeah, they do. And the agent basically said, well, we have to move it back 30 days. And it became a huge issue. And the listing agent said, did you know that they had this house to sell? And the agent said, yeah, but it's none of your business, and you wouldn't have accepted my offer had you known about it. And he said, like everybody, so the bottom line is they extended it a week and said, you have 1 week to show up at the table with cash, and you got to get a gift, you got to do whatever
it takes.
And they, sure enough, they wound up getting a gift from a family member, and then they were able to settle. But the other agent was incensed that it was an issue, and we were settling on their new house with the funds, so it was a big problem. And that's where you really got to look at every offer and make sure every offer, and talk to every loan officer and make sure that people are not misleading you.
Yeah.
We're going to call the word misleading.
Yeah.
Today's word's misleading.
Misleading, that's the political correct way. Those pesky little house to sell and house to settle addendums, I'll tell you. All right, you got to bring some fun in this. All right, the rental market, Terry. Let's talk about a rental market for a minute. I just helped 2 people get into rentals this last couple weeks. Holy cow! If you think the buy market's crazy, the rental market, I don't do a whole bunch with it. I did it because I'm selling a house, a townhouse that we settled coming up here on Monday, and I had to get them out anyways. I mean, I don't want to be homeless. I'm like, let me get you a rental, and they've been living there for a while. We became good friends, and they're very happy, and they got a great place and just in time, and it worked out great. But just like the other one, 2 of these, they got $2,200 whatever a month, $2,000 a month, rental. What they have to do to win? You got to go up a couple $100 a month in a rental. You got to go from a 1 year to a 2 year lease. You got to put down 2 months Social Security deposit. You got to buy the landlord pizza for a whole year and walk his dog for a year. That's pretty much what a renter has to be willing to do to be able to win, because these guys were up against like 5, 10 plus applications for rentals. This is craziness too.
That is nuts. So a question, what price range are we looking at? Because is that with all rentals? Is it with the...
I don't know. I don't do a bunch of this. $2,200. $2,200 a month.
Single family home?
No, these were both townhouses. These were townhouses.
Townhouses.
Yeah. So
in Frederick for $2,200.
In Frederick, yeah, $2,200, and they went up to like $2,300, $2,400, and yeah, both of them. So I don't know about single families. I mean, you start getting into like $3,500 a month rent for a single family home in Frederick. You may not have that issue. I really don't know. You can call in. You can let us know. 301-694-9363. But that's my experience. And so now when I help renters, I'm like, look, I ain't helping a renter. Forget about the days, not only do you have to have good credit, like you got to be at like a 680 or 700 or 720 credit higher, and you got to have the reserves, and you can't have like 20 cats and 10 dogs and a pit bull and a this and a canary that, barks all night long and get the neighbor mad. Forget the party animals in the house, forget about that world. We're talking about like treating it like real estate, like you're buying something. And my people were so grateful. They were like belated, whereas most tenants in the past, they're like, well, man, I hope the landlord's going to fix something if it breaks. These people, they're not even asking if something gets fixed. They're like, we'll fix it. We'll sign on the dotted line. The other big thing is if they can move in tomorrow, like, can you do the walkthrough, give me the secure deposit, the rent, and do the walkthrough and like the keys, and they're done in 24 hours because the landlord wants their money in 24 hours pretty much. If you have to wait 30 days to move into a rental, you can't even be, I mean, God bless you. That's all I can say.
That is just an amazing, I mean, that is incredible.
Oh, I'm shocked. I'm just as shocked because I don't deal with a lot of rentals, but, you know, you get it.
Yeah. So, wow.
All right, top story. This made my top 10. Here we go, Mr. Producer.
Top 10 ever?
Ever. This is my top 10 of ever in real estate of 19 years. You ready? I'm going to keep this short. I got a buyer I've been working with for a year and a half, right? A year and a half I've been working with them. We've looked at, man, these guys know the market better than I do. I'm about ready to hire them on my team, Terry. How's that? My consultants. So these guys have been helping. Man, we looked at like 20 homes, 4 other offers, gotten outbid, right? Mm-hmm. We go to see this house in Mount Airy about a week ago. And it's like the 10 out of 10. I'm like, how hard will you cry if you don't get this? And they're like, Darren, man, we will have to buy tissues for a year if we don't get this house, kind of thing. So here it is. The house is listed at $669, right? 3 days later, counter offer, come in with the offer, and here it is. The data, everything looks like 710 is a max. We come in, and I said, "What's the high?" And all of a sudden, I talked to their agent, and like I'm thinking like 750. My guys are willing to escalate to like 750. No home inspection, as is. No contingencies, no house to sell, no asking for nothing, no appraisal, no nothing. Terry, this is the cleanest you can get. Up to 750.
I know where this is going.
I get a text back. I got 1 minute. I got 2 minutes. I get a text back, and I said to our agent, "Hey, look, how many offers?" He's like, "We got 5 plus yours." So there's 5 competing offers. And I said, "Look, these guys want this house. Where do we need to be?" Of course, he can only share so much. This is the ethics side of real estate we're careful with. And I said, "Look, will 740 do it? Like, just give me the ballpark." He's like, "No, there's 2 offers beating that already." So I'm thinking, all right, what do you guys want to do? They said, Darren, we'll go to 750. So now we're going up from 670 to 750. I'm thinking, surely you're going to get it.
70,000.
Yeah, 70 grand higher. And I said, you got the reserves. You're going to be okay. This is their dream house. We know it's not going to praise. We've gone over every little thing, right? Next thing I know, an hour before the deadline or less, the agent texts me back and says, that ain't going to do it. My guys are out. I said, then he sends me, it's higher than that. So all of a sudden I'm thinking, are you kidding me? So we're going to keep our eye on this. My guys are out. It's going to go upwards of 760, 770, 780. We're looking at a potential $100,000 above asking price.
And that's in Frederick County.
Yeah, that's in Mount Airy.
What kind of message are you and I sending when we're saying things are swinging one way, and then all of a sudden you tell this story?
This is rare. That's why this is why this made my top 10, because I've never dealt with this. So there you go. So we want to hear your comments next week. Call in 301-694-9363 and pray for my buyers that we get another place that's not going to quite be like this. So, all right, have a great weekend. Happy buying us out, and take care now.